Hello, hello, we're back. My name is Wendy. This is Wendy's Lit. It's been a year since I've posted, but I've still been reading, kind of. And I want to talk about 4 books that I read these past couple months. I read a little bit more, but these 4 were phenomenal reads that I want to talk about. So let's talk about them. The first book I want to talk about is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. I put off reading this author for the longest time for hype reasons. I kept hearing about how the book community loved it, hated it, very few people in the middle. I just really thought to myself that reading another white author wasn't gonna really do me any good. And I also don't generally believe in hype bash. I think that if a book has a huge following, I think there's a tiny bit of merit behind that following, but I just assumed, oh, it's probably just not for me. I will say I was greatly incorrect. This book kind of went crazy. I really enjoyed this book. So it's about a beautiful, thin, rich, white Columbia graduate who is living the life pretty much anybody her age wants to live. She doesn't really need to go to a job. She's living in a beautiful apartment and she's beautiful, thin, rich, and white. I don't know what else you could ask for. Except that she doesn't really like her life at all. She's not suicidal, she just doesn't like her life and she wants it to change. And she feels that a big sleep will change her life. She thinks that hibernation is key. She's going to take a drug-induced sleep that will hopefully change her mindset or her life or something in hopes of just resetting herself, if you will. But it's going to take a lot of drugs and a really questionably dark routine to get this party started. I'm not someone who reads white women character studies just because, to me, there's so many of them. I just think that you can go to any Barnes & Noble or Amazon Books and see 17 of them on display. But here's where Moshfegh got me. I really love an unlikable female narrator. I like a female narrator who you cannot stand, who you do not understand, who, for lack of a better word, is a bitch, really. I think that women don't get chances to be bitches in media without being perceived a certain way, needing some kind of, reason to be it, or having some tragic backstory or something else really cringy. But here's the thing. This unnamed narrator, throughout her whole life, even though you see some pieces of it that could qualify as reasons for her being the way she is, she's still kind of just awful. Like, there's no other way to say it. She's just kind of awful. She makes really shitty decisions. She's extremely vain. She has terrible relationships with the people in her life, sexually, platonically. She doesn't know how to maintain a relationship. Granted, she's never really had one even in her childhood, basically. But instead of refusing to learn about that part of her, she kind of just drugs it down, really. Every page of this book has you asking why. Why is she like this? Why doesn't she just change? Why doesn't she realize that everything in her life that she doesn't like about herself is kind of on her, right? You read these books and you keep thinking, well, everyone's capable of change, right? I think Moshfegh is trying to tell you that most people are generally capable of change, and some people just aren't able to do it anymore. Some people are just stuck in their ways. That's the thing, right? Not all of them can change for the better, but you can hope for tiny bits of change. And that's, I think, something that's a little bit hopeful here. With the exception of the weird-ass Whoopi Goldberg and 9/11 mentions, I will say this book was really phenomenal to read. It was a 5-star read for me. You know what? I will read La Bona, okay? I will. Next book I read was Habitations by Sheila Sundar. Interestingly enough, this is also about a woman that goes to Columbia University. But these stories could not be more frickin' different if you couldn't guess why. This is about Vega, an Indian woman who gets the opportunity to go to Columbia for graduate school, while she wrestles with the constantly changing world around her. Her culture, her parents, her friends, her society, both in India and in America, all while trying to come to terms with everything about herself, her lack of money, her ambitions, her sensual desires, her romantic interests, all while trying to come to terms with her past. She had a sister who died in her teen years, and she cannot stop thinking about this little sister, unfortunately. This girl who she was meant to care and protect and failed in her eyes was so much to her, and because of that loss, she feels, what makes me think I deserve to go to graduate school? What makes me think I deserve love? what makes me think I can be a mother. She has several romantic entanglements, some good for her, some not so good for her, some you don't know why she did that. But within each of these, she learns quickly what she wants and what she doesn't want from love. She also is trying to learn how to settle her restlessness because she's literally going back and forth between herself and homes and places and people and things. That's another big point of this book, what makes a home and the person you project socially and professionally, and all that shit you take off as soon as you get home. Habitations was beautiful. I loved Vega as a character. I saw so much of myself in her. I have no notes. I saw a lot of people hating on this book because it is a very slow stream of consciousness kind of writing situation. This book has no plot. Do not read this if you think it has a plot. No, this is a character study on a brown woman. And that is why I enjoyed this book so much. It was literally just a brown woman in academia going through it. Yeah, I could relate a little bit. 5 stars, beautiful. Please read this. Next book I read was Vladimir by Julia May Jones. I want to preface this review by saying this is literally just white people doing white people shit with an Asian woman in the mix for some reason. This is some Days of Our Lives level bullshit. I'm talking privileged, educated gringos just doing whatever it is they want to do. And they have so many issues, both professionally, mentally, emotionally, that you just wonder why they don't stop the inner monologue and just use their notes app, or better yet, go to therapy. That being said, did I enjoy watching the car crash that was these people's lives colliding? Yes. Did I eat up this white people drama? Double yes. So this is about a woman in her mid-50s who is a professor at a sort of prestigious university, and her husband also teaches at this university. The reason I mention her husband is because, of course, there are allegations against him from students who claims that they slept with him. Rather, he slept with them. These allegations are true, of course, and the narrator doesn't really know how to feel about it because her marriage to this man was unconventional from the get-go, and she's also kind of interested in a new young hot professor that entered the university. Enter Vladimir, this married 30-something-year-old new professor who seems to be charmed by our main character. Our main character struggles with accepting the life that she has that is both comfortable and also depressing, or pursuing an entanglement that will give her a sliver of the power, beauty, and youth she feels she used to have. This book was crazy. Everybody in this book was crazy. Everybody wants everybody. There were times where I was like, I mean, you guys could really just talk it out. Our main character is very, very flawed in the fact that she is very, very vain. She is in her mid-50s and is still calorie counting, unfortunately. She still looks upon students who are young, thin, and 20 with long legs and supple breasts, and constantly thinks about how she never even used to have that, really. These girls have so much power in their youth, she feels. And she feels like her own power is draining day by day just because she's getting older. But that beautiful sense of youth, that freedom she feels, is somewhat brought back to her when Vladimir arrives at the university. And she's at an odd end. Is Vladimir charmed by her because she's an old lady, or is he charmed by her because she's just being herself? This book talks about aging as a woman, obviously, in a superficial concern. Also as a woman in the peak of her career, as a lover, as a mother. It also has this tiny little discussion about how men seem to have all the time in the world to seek and obtain and to play, while women have a much smaller window and a less forgiving public if they were to make mistakes or rash decisions along the way. Also, a really good discussion on the fact that a 20-something-year-old grad student should not be fooling around with a professor, even if she is of age. I promise you that someone who's 22, 23 does not really know what they're doing in their lives, let alone romantically. I really love this. I think Julia May Jones did an amazing job here. I will say that I gave it 4.5 stars just because I think it tried to take on a lot and it couldn't tackle every point it wanted to. It also got a little bit freaky really quickly at the end there, but I think that there was obviously some creative nuances that she took risks on, and I enjoyed them. So yeah, 4.5 stars. Give it a read if you like white people drama. The last book I want to talk about is also my most recent read. I read Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I had read Kindred for a literary course and thought that none of her books would tear me apart as much as that one did, so I was scared to read her again. I knew that I would enjoy her books heavily. I just thought that, oh God, I've already read her best work and I just don't know how to feel about her new ones. That was a complete miscalculation on my part. I loved Parable of the Sower even more than Kindred, which I did not think was possible. Also, just as a preface, this book was written in 1993, the year I was born, and starts in 2024, which is the current year that I'm in right now. So to read the first page, it actually starts July 20th or something like that, and I actually picked the book up July 20th, 2024. It was crazy to read that date as I started the novel. Basically, this is about a young black woman living in a post-apocalyptic California. There is hunger, there is poverty, there is lack of government protection, crooked police, and a class rivalry, actually, between the have-nots and the super have-nots, if you will. Our main character, Lauren, is just trying to make a living in a walled-off community where the people are so-called protected by this kind of massive wall situation, but they are not rich just because they have a little bit more. These people are surviving on the most basic of necessities, on bits of agriculture that was left over, poorly paid jobs that used to pay them much more, and most importantly, the small community is out to look for one another. That is the main emphasis of this book. Butler tries to tell you that if you live your life selfishly during an apocalypse, if you only live by your own desires, you will die quickly because there is strength in numbers, there is hope in numbers, and you can only cheat and lie and steal for so long and be strong for so long on your own. Our main character, Lauren, wants out of this life as soon as possible because she witnesses horrible tragedies every day. She sees a lot of loss, she sees a lot of poverty, and she wants out because she's someone who has a condition known as hyperempathy. Basically, what this means is that she feels everything very deeply, and anytime somebody's physically injured, she herself can physically feel it. She, in the midst of all this, is creating a religion. Her religion, known as Earthseed, is not trying to give in to a powerful or merciful God. It is, in fact, saying that God is what you make it. We follow her journey within her walled-off community, as well as her new scriptures and journal entries, and we see that she's willing to do just about anything to make it out of there alive. Phenomenal piece. Wow. I think that this is easily one of the best books I have ever read in my life. Butler is a literary powerhouse. She writes everything in here: racism, sexism, classism, discussions on all of these things that are done beautifully. It's also very important to note that Lauren, our main character, is like 15 or 16 when this book starts, and she's witnessing all this horrible graphic tragedy and deciding, you know what, I can't keep doing this. I have to move on. I have to grow. I have to leave and thrive and take whoever I can with me. The drug abuse, the death, the racism. She has to encounter all of these things and says, you know what, I gotta buckle up. What am I gonna do, die? And that's literally some of the mindsets some of these people have. They think, well, there's literally no getting better from here, so maybe I should just... But she is out to win. She's out to live. She's out to thrive and survive. And she's someone who literally feels pain if someone is getting shot in the chest or someone's getting sick. Graphic content warnings. Very, very graphic for just about everything. Drug abuse, sexual abuse. If there's a graphic warning of anything, it's in here. I'm just saying. But it is beautiful. I cannot wait to read the sequel, and yet I also understand that the sequel also might break me. So I'm going to hold off on it just a little bit, but Octavia Butler, you are a godsend. And those were all the books that I've read lately that I wanted to yap about. I hope that you take these recommendations and give one of these books a read. I am starting Detransition Baby, and I'm excited about that one. I'm 10 pages in, so I can't really say anything quite yet. But I'm hoping to post more again. Who knows? We'll see. But I hope your week is going good. I hope you've been reading, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!